Hello students, good morning. Welcome to the program NEET Foundation, and today's continuation concepts of body fluids and circulation is types of blood vessels and their functions, right? So let us see what are the different types of blood vessels which are arising from the heart and what kind of functions are being played by them to undergo the continuous circulation process to carry on the metabolical activities, right? Let us see what is the first one, arteries. Okay, so arteries are a type of blood vessels which carry the blood. What do they do? Which carry the blood away from the heart. Which carry the blood away from the heart. Okay, so from the heart, the mammalian heart, it arises, the heart, the aorta and the arteries arises from the anterior position in a dorsal region of the heart are called as a systemic aorta and the pulmonary artery, right? Systemic aorta carries the oxygenated blood and pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood. Okay, so as the heart contains 4 different chambers, left hand side carries only the oxygenated blood and right hand side chambers of the heart carries the deoxygenated blood. Okay, so right hand side pulmonary artery arises which carries the deoxygenated blood, and left hand side systemic aorta arises from the dorsal region of the ventricle, left ventricle, and it carries the oxygenated blood. Okay, so which are carrying the blood from heart towards to the different body organs. Okay, so pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood to lungs for exhalation process, and aorta will be distributed into many arterioles so that they are distributed towards to the multiple organs to carry forward the materials like oxygenated molecules and the other nutritive substances, right? So arteries have thick elastic layer. So what are they, how are they? It seems they are very thick muscular structures and they are elastic in nature. It seems the layer which is present surrounding the arteries are the elastic and thick nature, so that the blood will be easily moving with the help of a contraction and relaxation of the muscles which are present inside the arteries. Okay, so they allow the stretching and absorb the pressure. Okay, the pressure will be maximum in the arteries, so that in a very limited time duration the blood will be moving from heart towards to the respective organs. Okay, so how they are capacitized? With the help of a thick muscular nature and also the elastic layered structures which makes the arteries to stretch and absorb the pressure. So as they take up the pressure from the heart, so that they could able to give the pressure, and continuous wave like movement of the blood will be done by the peristalsis movement, so that the blood is moving in a forward direction. The wall stretches. Which wall? The muscular walls of the arteries are stretching and recoils in the response to pumping, thus peaks in pressure and being absorbed. Okay, so the main function of the arteries, because of their thick nature, because of their elastic layered muscles which are present in them, so that the pressure is being created itself by the arteries, so that they could able to maintain the pressure by recoiling it and sending it in a forward direction. Let us see in the picture. This is the artery, main artery, and this is the arteriole. Okay, so what are the structures here? The outer layer is called as a tunica externa and the middle layer is called as a tunica media and tunica interna. Yes, this is the layer which is arising from here. This is called as a tunica media. From here to here it's a tunica media, and next from here, after tunica media we can observe the tunica interna. Okay, so inside to this the endothelium and the lumen. Lumen in the sense the inner space which is responsible for dilation and constriction process for making the place of a blood cells and the other substances which are moving inside the blood vessels. Okay, so What are present inside the blood vessels? The leukocytes, nothing but the white blood cells, the erythrocytes, nothing but the red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. Okay, irregular bodies called as a platelets. Okay, so apart from this, the liquid materials are also present inside the blood vessels, so that the pressure is being created itself by the arteries, by the structures which they are being present inside to them. Okay, and next one is, this is the heart. Heart sends the blood towards to the arteries, and here the arteries are taking a pressure, so that the elastic nature, the thick and elastic muscular nature of the arteries are making them to just bulge. Okay, so here it is bulging and making the blood to flow towards to the arterioles and capillaries. Okay, and next one you see, from the veins the heart receives the blood and sends into the arteries, and here also we can observe the contraction is finished, means bulging is done. Now it is in a relaxed position. So now the movement of blood pressure will be slowed down, already sent, right? So after sending, again it will take some time to receive the blood from heart, and again it will be creating the pressure. So the arteries are considered as a pressure reservoirs, which makes themselves to elongate, bulge their structures, and making the blood to move in a forward direction. Understood? Right. Coming to the next concept, let us see still what are the functions of the arteries. The arteries maintains the pressure in the circulatory system. Okay, so in the circulatory system, the arteries, they themselves, they'll create their own pressure. So that we have discussed already, much like a balloon. Okay, see in the picture also you can observe, they are the balloon-like structures, just accumulating the substances and making them to just move in a forward direction and maintaining the pressure also. Not only creating the pressure, it also maintains how much fast the cells has to move, how much fastly the blood has to flow towards to the forward region, right? It also been maintained by the arteries and the arterioles. Okay, and next, so this maintains the pressure on the air within it, and the arteries therefore act as a pressure reservoirs. So just now I have told, so they do act as a pressure reservoirs by maintaining, storing pressure. What do they store? It says they do store the pressure within them, right? So the elastic layer is surrounded by the circular muscles, the involuntary muscles which are present in the blood vessels, whether they are the arteries or they are the veins. So the muscles which are present in them are the elastic layered muscle structures. So those muscles have the capacity to control the diameter, and thus the rate of blood flow will be maintained by the arteries. Okay, so the structure which is adapted inside the blood vessels are responsible for making and creating the pressure, so that they could able to maintain the blood movement from one place to another place throughout the body, right? And an outer layer of the connective tissue provides the strength. What is a connective tissue? Whether it might be the bone or it might be the fluid connective tissue, blood itself. So it gives the strength, it seems. For whom? For the layers, blood vessels. Okay, next, see here, this is the ventricular contraction, ventricle, left ventricle and the right ventricle. Once they go for systolic pressure, the blood from the ventricle will be moving in an outward direction, and as it moves in an outward direction, where do they go? Through the valves, the blood will be entering into the arteries. Left hand side, left ventricle sends the blood to systemic aorta, right ventricle sends the blood towards to pulmonary artery. Okay, so this ventricular contraction, flowing of the blood through the valve, one way valve, which makes the blood to flow only in a single direction, and it will be creating a pressure and also creates the bulb like structure and makes the blood to move in a pressure, but in a balanced pressure. Okay, so how much amount of blood must be maintained? So all those kind of pressure is under the control of a hormones, right? And if the hormones becomes imbalanced, the vessels also may become distracted and they could not able to balance the pressure of the blood, right? And next one, ventricular relaxation, the bulb structure will be coming in a normal position, so the blood flow becomes bit slow, right, for a mean time. Okay, and the valve will be closed. Here the valve is open, the blood flow is done. Here the valve is closed, the blood flow will not be seen here, right? And next, moving the present blood which is present inside the bulgy structure tries to move in a forward direction. After it becomes empty, again the ventricles will be contracting and sending the blood towards to the arteries. Okay, so this is the cyclic process. Okay, coming to the next concept, arterioles. What are arteries and what are arterioles? The ventricle arises the main pipes, main blood vessels are called as arteries, and these arteries are sub-branched into the arterioles. Okay, so why? Because why they need to be branched? Because so they need to be segregated to multiple organs from the anterior region towards to the posterior region. Okay, the smooth muscles surrounding the arteries, the smooth muscle of the organs, internal organs do contain the smooth muscles which do undergo the autonomic nervous system. They do undergo their own function, they are not under the control of a willpower. Okay, so the smooth muscles surrounding the arteries and arterioles controls the distribution of the blood. Okay, so what is the major basic function of a muscle? They do go for the contraction and relaxation. So by the contraction and relaxation of the muscles, these blood vessels are being squeezed, it seems. Okay, so as they are being squeezed, the movement of the blood will be done in a forward direction. Okay, so for example, he is giving one of the example like blood vessels dilating in the sense increasing their size when O2 levels decrease or wastes are being accumulated. Okay, so whenever the blood vessels are in a dilation position, the movement of nutrients are already been done, so the blood vessel is now empty, there is no sort of nutritive substances and waste substances will be accumulated in that particular place, so they will be moving towards to the targeted areas where the excretion is being done. Okay, so the waste are being accumulated and the oxygen level decreases, it seems. Why do they decrease? Already sent to the targeted areas, nothing but to the tissues and the cells. Okay, and now the function of them is to receive. The tissues and the cells, after undergoing the main function, they do produce the secondary metabolites. They are receiving the primary metabolites to undergo their function, for undergoing the metabolical activities. After finishing the metabolical activities, they do produce two kinds of products. One is the primary product, which is responsible for the body function, and one more is the secondary product which is responsible for reading out of the body. The waste which is being produced must be released outside the body. Okay, so for that there are the different organs that we will discuss in the next sessions. So this allows more blood into an area to bring oxygen and nutrients or remove the waste. So as we discussed, the pressure which is created by the arteries are making the pressure, creating the pressure and sending the blood. And once if the blood is being sent, what happens to the next process? Continuation process will be done. The waste materials also to be released outside, and again new blood will be moving towards to the arteries from the ventricles of the heart. Okay, so let us see here. The arterioles are responsible for sending the blood, and how does it controls? The smooth muscles of precapillary sphincter. Sphincters are nothing but those are the muscular structures which controls the movement of the substances which surrounds the tubes to just constrict and expand. Okay, so whenever they constrict, the movement of the substances will not be seen in the particular tube structures. So whenever the sphincter muscles are in a relaxed position, they provide the space for the tubular structures. For what purpose? For the movement of the substances. Okay, right. So here the blood is flowing, it seems. Blood flows. So this is the sphincter muscle which is in a relaxed position, right? So that the blood could able to move. Yes. So now the smooth muscle of precapillary sphincter contracts. Previously it is in a relaxation mode so that the blood could able to move in arteries and arterioles, right? So now the sphincter muscle is in a contraction position. See the arrow marks which are given like this, nothing but they are been constricted. The sphincter muscles got constricted so that it stops the movement of the blood flow and it diverted its direction, right? The blood got diverted its direction and here it is in a relaxed position. The blood flows over here but it will be moving back from here to here. That is because of the stopping, blocking the way. Okay, so that is the major function of the sphincter muscles. The arterioles are responsible for creating their own pressure and also surrounded by the sphincter muscles exactly at the junctions of the arterioles and the capillaries, arteries and the arterioles, so that the movement of the substances are also being regulated so that sufficient amount of blood will be moving from one place to another place, right? Next concept is the capillaries. What are capillaries? These are the very minute thin structures, thin blood vessels which gives the connecting link between arterioles and the venules. Arteries branches and forms arterioles. Arterioles are connected link towards to the capillaries and capillaries from the arterioles gives the connection towards to the venules and venules will be moving towards to the single blood vessel called as a vein to carry the waste substances. The capillaries are acting as a junctions for receiving the nutritive substances and sending the waste substances. Receiving the nutritive substances from arteries and arterioles, and capillaries send the waste substances to venules and veins. Okay. So the vasodilation and vasoconstriction. Dilation and constriction. Dilation means increasing the surface area and vasoconstriction. Constriction means just pressurizing. Refer to the dilation and constriction of the blood vessels. Whatever they are the capillaries or they are the veins or they are the arteries. Okay, so they go for dilation and constriction. Okay, so the diameter is controlled by the neural and endocrine systems. Okay, so the sphincter muscles when to constrict and the sphincter muscle when to dilate is under the control of a endocrine system, it seems. Okay, endocrine in the sense hormonal systems. So sphincter muscles control the flow of blood to the capillaries. That is what we have discussed previously. Sphincter muscles from the arteriole to artery to arteriole and arteriole towards to the capillaries. Okay, the sphincters are acting as a regulatory agents for movement of the blood from one place to another place. Okay, and let us see in the picture vasodilation. The diameter of the vessel is increased, right? And vasoconstriction. See the diameter of this position and this position. Here it is increased position and here it got decreased in position. Okay. So increasing transports of oxygen and nutrients and removal of the waste products. Okay. Why do they dilate? It seems they transport the nutritive substances and sends the waste products. And coming to this is the arteriole and this is the venule. What is the connection link? Connecting link is the capillary, right? The capillary receives the nutritive substances from the arterioles and sends the waste substances towards to the venules. Okay, so these are being controlled by the sphincter muscles, capillary sphincters, precapillary sphincters, and this is the arteriole, and these are the different structures of the artery and veins. This we have discussed in a previous slide. Okay. Coming to the next slide, blood pressure in capillaries. What kind of blood pressure can be seen in the capillaries? As like the arteries and arterioles, do capillaries also undergo pressure process? Do they act as a pressure reservoirs as like the veins and arteries? That is the reason the surface area, the cross sectional area is nothing but the surface area will be completely more than the arteries and veins. So the rate of blood flow, nothing but the speed, velocity is lowest in the capillaries. It is thin structure, thin single layered structure. The endothelial structure of the blood capillaries could not able to create the pressures, but they could able to just receive the nutritive substances and sending the waste substances to the targeted areas. Okay, that is a major function of the capillaries. So the blood pressure is highest in the arteries but is considerably reduced as it flows through the capillaries. It is lowest than the veins. Means blood pressure first comes the arteries and arterioles. Blood pressure is lower than the arteries in the veins. As compared to these two, the blood pressure is completely low in the capillaries. So as the blood pressure decreases, so the whatever the substances are ready to move into capillaries, so they go slowly, and each and every cell, each and every substance which is present inside the capillary could able to segregate and distribute very clearly towards to each and every cell and the tissues, and also could able to receive the minor function is being done by the capillaries, but it plays a very major role in undergoing the circulation process. Okay, it also receives the nutritive substances from the arteries and arterioles and sends to the cells. Okay, cell, what do they do? The cell, the mitochondria is responsible for cellular respiration, right, and sends the waste substances to the capillaries and sends towards to the venules. So this kind of segregation of substances, where to send, how to receive, and from where to receive, is under the control of a capillaries, but the blood pressure will not be seen in the capillaries. Very slow pressure can be seen in the capillaries, right? See, these are the connecting links. Okay, so this is the artery which is responsible for sending the blood towards to the arterioles. This is the artery and multiple arterioles. See, the color is changing as it reaches over here. So these structures are the capillaries. See the difference between these three. This is the vein, this is the capillary, and this is the artery. The lumen size is less, so the blood pressure will be more in the arteries. The lumen size is somewhat bigger than the artery in the veins. So the blood pressure will be controlled even in the veins, even when the blood is moving towards to the heart, and here the regulatory agents inside the veins are acting as a valves. Okay, no valves are seen in the arteries, but valves, because of the valves, the pressure is being controlled in the veins. Okay, so these are the valve structures. Okay, this is the closed valve and this is the open valve in the veins. And these are the capillaries. This is a thin endothelium structure, and the thickness is, the diameter is only 1 cell thick. Okay, so it undergoes only the transportation of nutrients and also transportation of the waste substances from one place to another place. Okay, next. So now let us see what are the functions of venules. So what arises from the capillaries? Venules, branches of the veins are being attached towards to capillaries, because capillaries sends the waste products towards to venules. From the venules, the waste products goes towards to the veins. So capillaries merge to form venules. Merging in the sense, so they will be branched towards to form, vein is branched or venules are branched to veins. Okay, venules are becoming thick and forms the vein. Okay, so here the pressure, according to the blood pressure movement of the blood, the structures are being designed. Okay, the capillaries merge to form venules and venules merge into veins. Okay, so they got divided. Okay, capillaries divided into venules, venules divides in the sense they are been forming as a thick layer structures called as a veins. So these here, what happens, venules can constrict constrict. Why do they constrict? For sending the blood in a forward direction due to the contraction of the smooth muscle. Venules are constricting, it seems, means the dilation and constriction is being done in the venules because of the muscles which are surrounded by the veins. Okay, so those muscles are called as a skeletal muscles, right? So this is the circulatory system in the capillary blood flow. This is the arteriole. Arteriole sends the oxygenated blood towards to the capillaries, and here surroundings we can observe the cells. Multiple cells will be present. So these multiple cells which are surrounding of each and every organ, the cells will be receiving the substances which are given by the capillaries. Okay, the cells receives the oxygenated molecules, nutritive substances towards to the cells, and cells after they finishing their metabolism, they send the waste materials again back towards to the capillaries. They receive the good and they receive the bad. Why do they receive the bad? For excretion process. Okay, the venules will be, as the cells are making the waste products to reach towards to the capillaries, the capillaries function now is to pass the waste products towards to the venules. Okay, so through the venules the waste products will be moving outside. So where does it go? Deoxygenated blood moves towards to the heart, right? And when they are constricted, there is more fluid loss in the capillaries due to increased pressure. Where do they increase and how do they increase? Because of the muscles contraction and relaxation, right? Next, coming to the veins. The main branches called as the veins, which carries the deoxygenated blood towards to the heart. Arteries carries blood away from the heart and veins carries blood towards to the heart. The diameter of veins is greater. Diameter of veins is greater than that of the arteries. Why? Because the pressure considerable over here, right? The blood pressure is less in the veins as compared to that of arteries. Why? Because the lumen size is less and the movement of the blood flow must be fast in the arteries, so that the each and every cell will be receiving the nutritive substances and the oxygenated molecules for undergoing the metabolical activities. The blood pressure in the veins is low, so valves in the veins. What we can observe in the veins? The valves. Only single direction the blood will be flowing, okay, because of the valves. So these are the valve structures. These are the valves, okay. So this to prevent the backflow. Once the blood is moving in a forward direction through the valves, as the valve opens, the blood moves in a forward direction, and once if the blood is moved, immediately the valve will be closed by some pressure which is exerted by them, okay. So the pressure veins are not exerting, but the pressure which is created by the muscles which are surrounding the veins, okay. So here the contraction of skeletal muscle during normal body movements squeezes the veins and assists with the moving of blood back to the heart. So as we work, as like whatever the movement is being done by the skeletal muscles, so those skeletal muscles neighboring structures are the veins and arteries, okay. So arteries, they could able to create their own pressure and makes the blood to move, okay. So they are deeply seated towards to each and every internal organ and also external, nothing but the voluntary muscles and all, for just creating by the own pressure. But coming to the veins, they can't get any pressure, but pressure is being created by the contraction and relaxation which is done by the skeletal muscles. When we perform any work, what happens when we just lift up any heavy object? So the muscles will be in a contraction position. So those contracted muscles will be squeezing the veins, that makes the pressure of the blood inside the vein and make the blood to flow in a forward direction. Once the blood is being moved, what happens? The valves which are present in those veins will be closed. So for a meanwhile time, the blood will not be moved after finishing the particular blood which has gone into the targeted organ, right? The vena cava, nothing but the caval veins, anterior region, superior vena cava, and posterior region, inferior vena cava, which are responsible for creating in the sense movement of the deoxygenated blood towards to the heart. Okay, so returns the blood towards to right atrium. Which branch receives the deoxygenated blood in the heart? The right atrium receives the deoxygenated blood. Okay, from heart to the of the heart, from the body parts, from each and every body is made by the group of tissues. Each and every tissue is made by the group of cells. Each and every cell do undergo the basic life processes and undergo the metabolical activities. So they produces two kinds of products. One is the primary product, which is utilized by the body itself, and the secondary product is the waste product, which has to be ridden outside from the body. So those waste products are being collected by the veins and sent to the heart, and the heart sends towards to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. Okay, see the picture here. The calf muscle, skeletal muscle, which is surrounding the vein. The blue colored structure is the vein. See here, the surrounding ones are the calf muscles, which are in a normal condition, relaxed position. The muscle, when it is in a relaxed position, there is no movement of the blood, so that the valves will be in a closed condition. And coming to the next picture, you see the calf muscle contracted. The squeezing pressure is being created by the calf muscles inside to this and makes the blood to flow in a veins. Okay, see here, this is the valve which is being making a way. Okay, so whenever they are being contracted, the blood from here, in this place there is a blood. Okay, in this place the movement of the blood flow is being done in a forward direction by opening the valve. Okay, when do they open? When the muscle in a prior part is contracting, which makes the valves to open so that the blood will be flowing in a forward direction. Okay, so that is the pressure which is been created by the skeletal muscles, so that the movement of the deoxygenated blood can be seen in the veins. Okay, coming to the next concept, the varicose veins, nothing but the infected veins, right? So in the right atrium, the blood pressure is close towards to 0 mm of Hg, right? So varicose veins develop when the valves are being weakened. Okay, so the valves, what is the major function of the valve? Opens and closes. Okay, when do they open and when do they close? So they will be opening for movement of blood, and they will be closing for preventing the backflow of the blood. Okay, and the valves becomes weakened when the blood pressure is close towards to 0 mm of Hg itself, right? The blood pressure is 0, then the valves will become weakened itself, means continuously the blood has to flow. So veins act as a blood reservoirs, arteries acts as a pressure reservoirs, veins acts as a blood reservoirs, because they contain 50% to 60% of blood volume. Okay, the blood space will be maximum stored inside the veins. Okay, so smooth muscle in the walls of the veins, smooth muscles means involuntary muscles, so they can go for expansion or contraction to adjust the flow volume of what? Blood which is present inside the veins, returning to the heart and make the more blood available when they need it. Okay, the movement of the blood is moving with the help of a valves, is also moving with the help of the the muscles which are present surrounding the veins, is making the pressure to just move towards to the particular area. Okay, so if we go for just continuously taking rest, we are not doing any work, we must perform the work, so the circulation will be in a proper condition. Okay, if the circulation is in a proper condition, we could able to take up much amount of oxygen. If much amount of oxygen is present inside our body, the metabolical activation also becomes so high. so that the body will be in a healthy condition. Okay, so here the varicose veins will be developing when the reservoirs, the blood which is in reservoiring in the, means storing inside the veins for a longer periods. It should not go for storing, it should be continuously working process. Okay, so these are the varicose veins, the bulgy structures you see, the spider veins and the varicose veins. So this normal blood flow, normal valve which opens and closes during the flowing of blood. Okay, and this is the normal vein. And see here the abnormal flow of the blood. See here how the vein got irregular shapes. Yes, why do they got the irregular shapes? Because of accumulation of the blood inside to the veins. Okay, there is no squeezing movement of the muscles which are surrounding the veins. Okay, so they become varicose, and the valves also will be changing their direction. Valves opposite directions which opens and closes makes the blood to flow in a single direction. If one side of valve and another side of valve partitions are moving in a direction, how can they control the movement of the blood? So that becomes this situation called as a varicose veins. Okay. Next is the portal veins. What are the portal veins? The veins which are responsible for sending the blood from the vein towards to the liver. Okay, hepatic portal veins and the normal portal veins. Okay, so portal veins connect one capillary bed with the another capillary bed, and the hepatic portal vein connects the capillary beds in the digestive tract with capillary beds in the liver. Okay, so these are the connecting links in between the liver to digestive tract, liver to spleen, liver to pancreas, liver to large and small intestines. So the nutritive substances which are entering towards to the blood, and the oxygenated molecules or deoxygenated molecules which are entering into the veins, so that must be first of all altered in the liver. What is a major function of liver here? Here the liver receives all the substances from the portal and the hepatic portal veins before reaching the heart. Okay, so any sort of alterations, any sort of disturbances are present in that kind of blood, first of all is been altered in the liver and then sent towards to the heart for exhalation process. Okay, so these are the structures, the portal veins, hepatic portal veins. So these veins are related towards to the digestive system, you see. So this digestive system receives, means sends the waste substances towards to this vein and sending towards to the liver. Okay, not only the digestive system, the spleen, the stomach, the pancreas and also the intestines sends the waste substances towards to the venules. Veins are nothing but the hepatic portal vein. Okay, the liver receives that and alters the substances which are very dangerous towards to the organ, so that they will be altered and sending directly towards to the veins. Okay, so those veins will be carrying the blood towards to heart. Okay, and next one is the portal vein. This is the portal vein, right? So this is also related to the hepatic portal vein. So this is also receiving the blood from gallbladder, spleen and also the pancreas. Okay, so this main function is to sending the blood towards to the liver before sending it to the heart. Okay, the liver plays a very major role in altering the substances before reaching towards to the heart. Understood? That is the function of the portal veins, right? Thank you dears. Hope you all enjoyed the video. We'll meet in the next session.